Alright, today we are working on Dylan's 1994 Toyota Celica GT4 WRC edition. Let's get into it. Alright, so these are the parts we're going to be replacing today. This is called the Camber control arm, and these little pieces here which attach to it are called the figure 8 links. So this is going to be a different setup. It's nothing that I've ever done before, so let's get started. Alright, so we are under the car now. This is the camber control arm that we will be replacing, and this is the figure 8. So first step is to take the cotter pins out of here and here. And these I believe are a 22 mil, right?
Yeah, 22. Yeah.
So we've already sprayed them with penetrating fluid, so hopefully they're not too seized on there. And we'll get those bad boys loose.
So the Celica ST205 is one of, I think, two or three Toyota vehicles that use this kind of suspension. It was an option in a naturally aspirated Celica as well. And I think there might have been a Corolla that had it as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it's not a very common thing on the Toyotas. Like, the most common vehicle that has it is this ST205. Its whole point is to reduce bump steer. So as you're taking a corner and then you hit a bump or whatever, it's supposed to keep the camber the same so that a bump doesn't pull you in or out of the corner anymore. Its downside is that it's a high wear item, so these figure 8 links and even the struts and stuff only last 150,000 kilometers. Some guys only get 100,000 kilometers out of them. So they're a low reliability item, but they're also cool. So
Rally car. Alright, we got these two loose with a breaker bar. Now we're just removing it with the ratchet. And what's the next step?
Next step will be to remove the figure of 8 link from the strut bar.
Okay.
Here, so the strut comes down. It's kind of an extended arm.
Right. So it'll have to be removed from this piece right here.
From this piece here. Okay. And it's also connected up there, but we will leave it there.
Okay. Alright, figure 8 is off. That was too easy.
Way too easy. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. What's coming? That's the scary part.
It definitely is.
So next thing to remove is the camber control arm, which I guess consists of removing it from the steering knuckle here, right?
Yeah.
And then up
the
here. Okay, so we got to get this plastic cover off of here to gain access to that.
And just an FYI, if yours does not come off as easily as that, I had my suspension replaced a year ago, so that's probably why it was so easy. If it does not come off that easily, what you may need to do is to get a bearing puller and actually pull on this. So put your bearing puller on this side and pry it out, and with a hammer and everything like that, that might be the only way to do it. So that's what's suggested otherwise, because if it's been on there for 10 years or something like that, it won't come off that easily.
Alright, so now we have a nut here, which we've removed already, and apparently there's 2 other bolts. I think there's one here for sure, and then one in between these 2 somewhere. It's up there anyway. Those need to get removed, and that gives us the space that we need to remove the cotter pin and castle nut from the top here. And there's just a ball joint in there, so this should just slip down once we get that loose. So that's kind of where we're at.
It's all on one plate here that separates from the knuckle. I don't remember the exact name for this plate, but it separates from the actual hub and steering knuckle here.
Okay, so we got the 2 bolts and the nut removed from the bottom plate here. So they were all 17s, right?
Yep.
Yep, so 17 mil, 2 bolts and a nut on the other side. Now we'll see if this just pulls off of here.
Should just.
Oh yeah, look at that. We got miles of room.
All right, now I can actually get to this cotter pin on this side too.
Alright, so here's a view of the plate from the other side. So this is where the nut would have been. There would have been a bolt there and then the other side. So now what we need to remove is this cotter pin right here and the castle nut. And then that should allow us to remove the camber control arm from this side. Okay, so we're going to do a quick update here. We've been working at this for a while now, but this was the plate that we had removed the 2 bolts from and the nut from the other side. We have tried to remove the castle nut from the top, and the cotter pin was rusted in there, so we took a lot of time to get that out. And now the nut is turning, but it's very slow going, and it seems like the ball joint is going to be stuck in there pretty good. So what we're going to do is remove the entire assembly. So this is called the banana arm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be removing that, which consists of taking these few bolts off of the brake line here. This is the camber control arm here that we were going to remove anyway, which consists of a bolt up here. And then the banana arm has one more bolt back here to remove. And that will remove the entire assembly, and then we can get it onto a workbench and hopefully get this disassembled properly. So that's where we're at now.
On the other side, you have to put a lift on the engine.
Okay.
So either pull it up from the top or push it with like a piece of plywood on your sump or whatever, because the bolt that holds the camber control arm in fouls on the sump, which will be right here.
So you got like no room to move.
You got no room, so you just got to move the engine up like half an inch, which if you don't have like poly bushings or whatever, shouldn't be a problem. I have poly bushings, so.
All right, we'll catch up with you in an hour when this is out.
Alright, so, that's only a few rocks.
All right, so that's the brake line undone, and then we have one more bolt on the banana arm right up there.
Goes through the bushings, so I'm not sure how easy this will be.
Yeah, we'll see. I need a breaker bar, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. I thought I would impress everybody with my strength, but there's no strength to impress anybody with.
Make it go that way. Yeah, there you go.
That's the sound I like to hear.
That's a good sound. Alright, so one more step before we can remove the banana bar. So that's what we're doing now. There's just two 19 mil bolts holding this part of the subframe on. And then we should be able to pry down on it with a pry bar, and that'll give us enough room that we can pull the bar out of there.
Oh. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. It's close.
Alright, that's it.
Assembly is out.
Alright, so we had to pry down on the subframe here after the two bolts were removed, which allowed us to remove the bushing from the subframe. And now we got the entire assembly here. So this is the camber control arm, the banana arm here, and then this is the plate that attaches both pieces together. So now that it's completely removed, we'll be able to get everything disassembled on the workbench, and it'll be a lot easier to do. So we got her secured in the vise now, and that was a lot easier than being under the car. Cotter pin had been jammed in this hole as well, so we kind of had to break it off.
The ball joint boot is torn. So the actual clunking that it was making was caused by the bushings here with the figure 8 link. So the figure 8 link attaches here. It was actually clunking here, the bushings die. But looks like this wasn't in good shape either.
Alright, so this is a little while later now. We actually ended up going to a local shop to get this. Well, this is the new one, but we had to get it pressed out of here because there was no way we could get our tools to work. So we got that pressed out. It took a lot of effort to do it though, so we recommend when replacing any of this stuff, since you're taking all of this out anyway, you might as well just replace the whole assembly because this was a big headache to get undone.
Do your banana arm, do your plate, do your camber control arm. There's a the place I bought this from, gt4play.co.uk, sells everything as a kit, including the figure of 8 links and all the nuts and everything. It just wouldn't have this plate. I actually don't know where you could buy this plate from, but it would definitely be easier to replace everything.
Yeah,
else.
if you have it out already, I mean, you might as well replace it all. So at this point, we're just gonna get on to reassembly, which will be the exact opposite of what we just did, disassembling it and get it back in the car. So yeah, put this on there, tighten the nut down to spec.
I think the torque spec is 80 from what I could find online. I'm going to do it a little higher than that just because it's a taper, and I would prefer it's tightened there because it's one of the main control arms.
Decent. Well, that's one down. Can you at least align the cotter pin hole?
I did it. Smack yourself.
Alright, so we got the banana arm in underneath the subframe there, and we're bolting it up now. So it was basically just the same process as removing it. We stuck a pry bar in between the frame and the subframe, pried it apart slightly, and that gave us enough room that we could slip the banana arm and bushing in there, and now we're just tightening it up.
Good trick is to try and keep the banana arm level as you put it in, and keep the alignment tube in there as well, and that makes it easier to slip the bolt in as you're trying to get it to bite the thread. Otherwise it's just going to start flying around and you won't get the bolt through the banana arm bushing on this end.
We don't want anything flying around.
No bananas flying around.
Not today. Alright, so figure 8 link is now going in. Just like that. And now we bolt her up, right?
Yep, that's it. My kit did come with new nuts, so I'll have to go find them again. But torque spec on this is 127, and this one 127 foot-pounds.
Right on. So we've got banana arm installed. The bottom plate here is snugged up to the steering knuckle again. We have not torqued it yet. And this is just from the back side. So as you can see, this is the figure 8 link that we just installed. This is the camber arm along there, camber control arm. And it's bolted up to the frame now.
Found my new nuts. Got 2 of them.
Look how shiny those are. Alright, so we've got both of these nuts torqued to spec, 127 foot-pounds. We got the caps put back on. We're just going to do the cotter pins through. And we are pretty much done.
Yeah, definitely do this as a whole set, like do banana arm at the same time if you want it to be easy. It's just way easier not to have to worry about ruining the other arm as well. You can just wreck both of them, getting them apart, and no problems then.
No squeaking.
Alright, and that is how you install a Super Strut suspension system in the Toyota Celica GT4.
It's actually not quite as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah, we got her done.
Yeah, that's right.
So we kind of explained how to do it on the other side of the car, where you have to jack up the engine slightly so that you have enough room to work.
That's the only difference, is as you're pulling out the main bolt that holds the camber control arm to the subframe, it'll foul on the sub. So just lift your engine up, no problem.
Right on. Alright, so if this video was helpful, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one.